Check the 40 show. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty. Why you acting all gaudy? This ain't a pod, this a party. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty. Why you acting all gaudy? This ain't a pod, this a party. About 120 feet. Running game every week. About 100 what they keep. Fantasies, Egyptian sheets. If there was only a way to test this, check this. Listen to the 40 for your next shit. Flexes, FF is what they obsess with. Checklist complete, I guess you can't best us. Rest of the fantasy community, go ahead and book the L when they lose to me. It's nothing new to me, I'm just the dude you see. Biggest difference is I listen regularly. Yeah, I will not lose 14 my dudes. I will not lose 14 my dudes. Go. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty. Why you acting all gaudy? This ain't a pod, this a party. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty. Why you acting all gaudy? This ain't a pod, this a party.
We are back. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy 40 Podcast with myself, John DeBari, my co-host, Mr. Matt Walker, and the missing, as always, Andrew Burke. Today, we got a little something special planned. We're going to do a mock draft now that we've seen some ADP and everyone's participated in their real fantasy drafts. And we're going to see what's going to happen with some writers and fantasy experts, if I don't mind throwing that around. We'll go around the room real quick, introduce our guests, and then we will jump right into it. Scott Connor, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, at Charles Chill FFB on Twitter, writer at DLF, host of Dynasty and Chill, and a lot of other podcasts. Usually you can find me in different Twitter debates and guesting on podcasts whenever somebody will have me. So glad to be here, and it should be a fun exercise. I'm about 30 drafts in, so have some ADP data of my own and kind of some pulse on what's going on out in the market. So thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, sir. Now we will introduce a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Dynasty Madman.
Sorry, man. My wife's cat's attacking me.
The Tiger King.
I am the Dynasty Madman. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Madman. I am a co-host of the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast, and you'll know some of these fellas are part of the Off the Rails podcast too, where we get into some craziness and have a good time every couple weeks. That's about it. I also edit at DevyWatch. I don't want to forget those guys. They do all the hard work, and I try to make what they do look prettier on the site. Some of the best writers and analysts as far as Devy goes out there.
And last and certainly not least, Mr. Dave Wright.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. I'm at FF_Spaceman on Twitter. You can find me writing over at dynastyfootballfactory.com. And, check me out for any spreadsheets or whatever have you. You can always check my pin tweet from my college prospect database.
Very nice. So I guess we're going to just jump right into it. Just a heads up, this is not Superflex. So one QB, PPR. I know Superflex is all the rage, but we're going to buck the trend because we've seen how that goes. So, Scott, you are up first. Lead us off with our first pick.
Yeah, not too scientific here. It's just a PPR league, no point per carry, no super flex. So I would take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Simple justification being that he is the safest running back in Dynasty besides Christian McCaffrey. So I know that's a little bit of a hot take, but rookie contract, 5 years, going to be at least 4 years before there's any contractual disputes. So even if he doesn't have a massive touch ceiling, I'll take that offense and Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 101.
Outstanding. Number 2, we have Madman.
J.K. Dobbins, Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
Just to throw a little wrench in there. And I'll tell you something. One of the biggest reasons I like him, and I'm not going to go on and on. You guys know a lot about J.K. Dobbins. He's pretty fast, even though he didn't do work at the combine. Let's just say 4.4-ish. Fast enough. We know he's fast. Not a question. The reason that I like him is really the landing spot. The way that the Baltimore Ravens run the ball, their propensity for running the ball, their use of the running back, Lamar Jackson being the quarterback, the involvement of J.K. Dobbins in the passing game at Ohio State. And honestly, I can't imagine a better team that you could take J.K. Dobbins from than Ohio State transitioning to the Ravens. And I'm sure that's why the Ravens wanted him too. Day one, I realize he might not be the starter because you have Mark Ingram. I've said that before, but I'm not really worried about him. He's definitely on his way out of the league. They drafted J.K. Dobbins to add to that speed on that team, but just an unbelievable fit for that team. The catching the ball, the pistols sometimes they use, just the way that J.K. Dobbins can play off the hip of Lamar Jackson and can read the line well. I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. I truly think he'll be one of the best 2 running backs to come out of this class. The top 2, anybody's guess, but I think he's one of them.
That's all fair. Walk, you're up. Pick 3.
You can tell that Jeremy is usually the one moderating and editing. He got a chance to talk, and he took the opportunity early on when he jumped on J.K. Dobbins at 2. I'm Jonathan Taylor 3. I thought I was taking J.K. Dobbins at 3, who's ascended to me because of everything that Jeremy said. But to me, Jonathan Taylor is still a clear-cut top 2 with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Dobbins hasn't jumped him in my opinion, but I will take the fallen value of Jonathan Taylor.
All right, pick number 4, Spaceman.
I'm really happy to get DeAndre Swift here pre-draft. Everyone was gushing about him, prospected at Georgia who didn't see a lot of workload, but that was by design. So lightly used, great athlete, great pedigree. Everyone's really concerned about landing with Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions. I'm not really worried about, the other running backs there. They drafted a couple other running backs and also signed some UDFAs. I think that is some writing on the wall for Kerryon. So I'm really excited about DeAndre Swift here at 4. He's my RB3, and I'll take DeAndre Swift to the bank.
I am up with pick 5 and in a league with a clear top 5 at running back. You guys went running back 4 in a row. I can't miss out. Give me Cam Akers. And then the next pick, we're back to Scott with 106.
Yeah, well, I just want to compliment you guys. This is exactly how the draft should go. 5 running backs should go before the first receiver. So I'm forced to take a receiver here because I don't think there's any running backs that should go here. So I will take CeeDee Lamb as my wide receiver 1. I don't necessarily think he is the best receiver in the class in terms of immediate impact. But if you look at Dak Prescott, was 7th in the league in passing attempts last year. They do have some volume available with Jason Witten and Randall Cobb departing. And I also think the Cowboy factor is big with CeeDee Lamb. He's a Dallas Cowboy, so there's always going to be somebody in your league that's probably a Cowboys fan. So I think he probably has the highest flip value. Even if he doesn't produce right away, I think he has the highest flip value or floor value for his dynasty value going forward. So CeeDee Lamb, 106.
All right. Madman, back to you for 107.
Yeah, I love. I'm going to reference the previous picks because I love how these first 5 picks went with the running backs. Nobody knows definitively which of those guys is going to end up being the best. They're all good. In any given year, I would love to have any of them, either one of those, 5 running backs. I think it's cool how it shakes out. And normally it's CAH, Taylor, whatever, Swift, Dobbins, and Akers. I wouldn't be surprised if Akers ends up on the top of this, 1 year or whatever. They're all so good. And I just think it's great because you could have one of the top 5 picks and come away with your franchise running back. It's really cool. At pick 7, I am also going to switch gears. And since this is one quarterback, I'm going to stick with the wide receivers. But I'm going to skip over Jerry Jeudy and go with Jalen Reagor. Yeah,
I love it. And the
Plus,
next
I don't want
guy.
Walker to get his guy for the Eagles either.
Exactly.
He's representing a team here and not his own. I don't want him to have that satisfaction.
It's a podcast mock, and he's heartbroken. Walk, you're up 108.
I gotta be honest, man. You let me get Taylor, so I can't be that upset.
Cool.
At 3, but I was all but penciling Reagor in. At 8, I think it's a great pick. He's my wide receiver 2 behind Lamb. I will take Jeudy here at 8 and just move on. Dude, disappointed to take a quality receiver with the 8th pick. I'm a huge Reagor fan, so this is settling to me.
It's fair. Dave, up to you at 109.
Well, I guess knowing that Walk was going to take Reagor, that softens a blow for me a little bit with Jeremy taking because I have my heart set on him at 9. He's what a dynamic player. I think he's getting a little bit too much criticism, but that's another story. So I'm going to have to take the next guy available for me, and that's Justin Jefferson. I don't love the landing. I know a lot of people are really crazy about the landing spot in Minnesota. It's not that high volume of an offense. I think there's a little bit of competition in the slot between Thielen, Irv Smith Jr. And, so I'm not necessarily thrilled about it, but that's the only negatives I can say about Jefferson. Big time producer at a big time program. And he's a lot more athletic than I thought he was going to be. I think he's one of the safer picks in the first round of rookie drafts.
I agree with that entirely. Now, picking 10 here, I'm on the clock. This has been a tough spot to be in. And Scott, you'd mentioned you did about 30 drafts already. I find this is where things start getting a little, for lack of a better term, off the rails. So the top receivers, in my opinion, are gone. The top running backs are gone. I don't love reaching for any of the other wide receivers because I don't think they're up in this tier. And we've seen people bashing this pick on Twitter, and it's not unfair, but I'm going to go Keyshawn Vaughn because I just don't like what else is on the board at this pick when the draft is shaken out this way. So 11, Scott, you are up.
Actually, I want to pause this for a second. We've already spoken about Keyshawn Vaughn. Anyone else? Is this a reach for Vaughn?
I don't like him at 110, but maybe he proves right and he takes off. But I don't like the value of him here for sure. Not in this draft.
Neither do I. But it just seems like this is where he falls every time. I've taken him here in a couple spots, and you just kind of like.
Hey, you might be right. I don't know, but I'm surprised by it. I'll say that.
Like other guys with higher ADPs are a little more popular, like Mims or Higgins. Like I don't love them or the landing spot. And it's like, well, he's the last good running back up there, so I guess I'll grab him. I'm never satisfied when I do it.
A good reference, if anyone just wants a quick hit, listen to the RotoViz podcast with Matthew Friedman. He does a breakdown of Keyshawn Vaughn and basically says it is Keyshawn Vaughn, everything that comes with him, his entire profile versus Tom Brady's running back and Bruce Arians' running back. That's it. That's all he has going for him is those two things. I mean, even his draft capital doesn't really put him in a range that makes him any sort of sure bet. So I'm kind of with John that he's a good value because this is where he's going. But, I think it's just a product of the weak running back class after the top 5 that he's getting pushed up.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Royce Freeman decision a couple of years ago. I think Royce Freeman was a better prospect, but people ended up taking the running back over some better wide receiver prospects. And I think people have that same kind of decision. Now it could pay off more than Royce Freeman did. But I feel like that's the same kind of flashpoint we're at right now.
Yeah, you look back in that draft, and you probably took Royce Freeman, Ronald Jones, Kerryon Johnson, Rashad Penny over DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, and you're just looking back going, I wish I would have had those picks back. So I think this is maybe a learning thing you can take away from a couple years ago. So good debate, though. I think this is very applicable for people in these spots because it's tough. Let me ask you guys this, not to go too far off the rails. Twice. At this point, are you looking, would you trade this pick for a random first in the future, 2021? That Keyshawn Vaughn pick, would you swap it for a random first?
I might.
I would.
I think I would.
Okay.
Every next year's draft is better than the current one we're in. I mean, everyone wanted into this draft, and now no one wants to 110 in this draft. So it's to each their own. It seems like the wide receiver class is going to be better. Is there going to be 5 top tier running backs in next year's class? Doesn't seem like it right now. So
couple, 3
much shallower. And you're going after those receivers. Just so deep at receiver in this draft. Hard pressed. I wouldn't have taken Vaughn at 110, but
I'd even talk about trying to trade for a veteran at this point. Maybe try to steal
Jarvis Landry.
I'll try to steal Jarvis Landry or something like that for at this pick.
Absolutely.
People are down on him. And then also,
why?
Yeah, I have no idea.
No
So
sense, man.
So that's what I'm trying to do is, I'll just take a veteran right here. At this point in the draft, you're not, the likelihood of you hitting is just as good as you missing. So I'll take a veteran.
Yeah, what you said about Jarvis Landry is crazy. Like the fact that he's been so consistent, doesn't get hurt. He's the least likely receiver on the Browns to take a hit with the new running game and whatever they do. Odell Beckham Jr. could be concerned about the third wide receiver. But the number one wide receiver, which is Landry, the guy who's getting the love underneath and outside both, the short yardage guy that's just, a monster 50-50 guy on top of everything else that he can do in the slot and underneath. He's the least likely receiver on that team to take a hit with this new offense. He's almost money like he is every year. I would never say that he's down. It's funny to hear that people are like that about it.
I mean, the irony, and before we get back on this, is Jarvis Landry had off-season hip surgery, which just comes with a 6 to 8 month timetable that he just had done in February. So the guy that never gets hurt just had major hip surgery.
Yeah,
however old he is.
Yeah, he never misses games. He I'm sure he's gotten banged up. Dude doesn't miss games. But anyway, yeah, Vaughn at that spot. I don't love that, man. I'd take something that I felt like I could flip for more before I took him.
Why are you taking Vaughn here? It's because of need. You need to fill a running back spot, most likely, is why he's getting pushed up there. So at least shop the pick. You could maybe get Melvin Gordon for this pick, or a running back like that's going to give you maybe 2 locked-in years better than Vaughn might give you over 3 or 4. So just that logic could maybe get you a better value in the trade.
Yeah, makes sense.
Consider shopping him. I'll keep going 111 since we get back on the mock. I'll take the guy that I've taken in all of our prior mocks. And I actually wrote an article for DLF thinking that he's one of the most undervalued rookies, and it's Henry Ruggs.
Bastard.
I
would take him here too. I would have taken him instead of Vaughn.
Well, I think that's the argument. I think you can argue for Vaughn because he's a running back. It's a lot more scarce. There's probably 7 or 8 other receivers that I like in the next round that are going to be picked. Here's the only thing. Here's the thing with Ruggs, though. You hear the argument, he's better for the NFL than he is for fantasy.
I don't believe it.
Check out PFF's projections. They have him as the highest projected target guy for rookies this year. And I'll tell you, if Ruggs they have him at 93 targets. If he gets 93 targets, he will be worth more than what he is right now next year.
Oh, yeah.
The irony, and I think short of Jalen Reagor, is he walked into the best situation.
Yeah. And even if he isn't a long-term target hog, I could see it in year 1 because they want to get this toy on the field. They want to use him, show off their pick. I mean, he's a top 10 pick for a reason, so can't pass him up.
Yeah, Ruggs has to jump Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow for
right, and he doesn't really have competition, and likewise his peer that was drafted too. I want to ask you guys something because this is relevant now. I actually just took Jalen Reagor at 110 in a best ball first round draft. My next pick is 310. I don't have my second rounder, and I'm trying to get the 111 right now that's on the clock. And so I have the trade offer to me is my 2021 first and my 2022 first to get the 112 that's on the clock where I can take Henry Ruggs. What do you guys think about that? Pass? That's who I'd take with this pick if I get it.
I mean, I'm not a Ruggs guy, so I would say no. But if you like him,
no, I like what he can be. I don't really like him. But.
Listen, if you liked him that much, you would have taken him instead of Reagor when you were on the clock. Pick the right guy.
Right.
Just move on. All right, so you made it into the first round. Congratulations, Scott.
You are on the clock, madman, closing out round 1 with 112.
Yeah, I really was hoping, and I knew that if Scott was ahead of me, he was going to take Henry Ruggs. So that leaves me at a bit remiss. But as much as I want to draft a quarterback here, I'm going to stick with the theme of wide receivers, and I'm going to let you guys guess the guy that I'm taking here.
Your wife likes the Bengals. You're going T. Higgins.
He's going B.E. Nope. Okay.
No, I am. I love Bryan Edwards. I'm a big fan, but I think value wise, I'm taking T. Higgins. I've done that already in a couple drafts where I've taken Higgins ahead of him. I do think he's a shoe-in for the AJ Green role. That's why they drafted him. He's not AJ Green. I get it, but I just think him in that offense with Zach Taylor, with Joe Burrow, it's exciting. They're going to definitely use these new guys that they acquired, and I think he's going to be a big-time receiver there. Whether he's a quarterback, a wide receiver 1 or not, that's to be determined, but I think the value is there. Really, truly think he could be drafted higher, and you can't argue with people, but folks are down on him. So I'm looking at him a little less than Ruggs. If I need to trade him to profit, I still can do that, just like with Ruggs.
So that concludes round 1. Just to go over it again real quick here. Edwards, Hilaire, Dobbins, Taylor, Swift, Akers at 5, CeeDee Lamb, Reagor, Judy, Justin Jefferson, Keyshawn Vaughn at 10, Ruggs and Higgins to close it out. Anybody unusual there? Anybody you guys want to talk about?
No, I just think it's funny that Swift at 4 and Akers at 5 in this year's draft. And looking back at Devy, if you thought, and even Lamb, just looking at and Judy, looking at these guys back in the day, but especially the running backs and Swift and Akers that they fell to 4 and 5. Those were thought of as maybe the best in class running backs not too long ago. And so that, they might still be, and that's huge value if they end up being starters and running back ones. It's awesome.
Yeah, blue chippers. And I think the topical guys would be 10 through 12, and we just went through them. That's the first time we actually got into some sort of debate. But that little bracket of time with the Vaughn Ruggs Higgins pick. I think that's when it's kind of,
the turn there almost. The
flavor
turn
of the week. I mean, it's got to be guys you like that you start going after, and probably some need to Scott's point of, taking Vaughn there because of the, the value drop in running backs. I think that's where it got kind of interesting. 1 through 9, I think, is 1 through 9 largely with little variance here and there to people. So no real shock.
I agree. On to round 2, little different order. Walk, you are starting off round 2 with pick 13.
Oh, I'm so excited to have the first pick of day 2. I was sleeping on it like the Bengals were.
Yeah.
Not even considering trading out here. I'm taking Michael Pittman Jr. at 13. Just they're gushing about him in Indianapolis. Said he was their top-rated receiver. They think he's going to step in day 1 in the X. Wright just can't stop waxing about him. T.Y. Hilton's coming up to the end of his run. Paris Campbell's not going to eat into anything Michael Pittman does. I don't care that it's only 1 year with Phil Rivers. They'll figure it out. The way that this team is built, they can attract free agent quarterbacks if they so desire. They can draft one next year. I like Pittman's profile, and he landed in a plum spot.
Don't disagree with much of that. Getting on to the second pick of the second round, Dave, you're up.
This is almost ideal scenario for me. If Ruggs is not on the board, I want Bryan Edwards at this point. I think as much as I think that Ruggs is a true unicorn, I think the analytics guys, they ding him a little bit too much. I think he really is unique. But I understand what a unicorn means, and that's he's still a low likelihood of a hit, but just the upside is there. That being said, Bryan Edwards could very well be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. I think people ding him too much for his low ADOT. The QB play at South Carolina was not very good. He had a lot of target competition, age 17 breakout age in the SEC. And people also ding him way too much for his athleticism. He has good athleticism metrics coming out of high school. So I love me some Bryan Edwards here.
Let me tell you something. I've never had my heart. I have never had my heart broken in a bullshit fake mock before, but here I am.
Yeah, welcome to me at pick 8, buddy.
There you go.
I lost Rager, so
great pick. I know who you're going with here, fucker.
Who, me? I'm up. I got the third pick here. I was hoping to get Edwards later in the second, so seeing him go early second is soul crushing. I guess at this point I'm going to go Laviska Shenault.
I knew it.
I like the athleticism, hearing what they're going to do with him, use him all over the field. I like that he'll get some touches, targets, however they want to manufacture them for him. For the 6 games a year he plays before he's on the injured reserve list, I will throw a dart there.
Listen, you're not allowed to besmirch him after you picked him 15 overall and say he's only going to play 6 games. You're either all in or you're all out on Shenault. You can't play the middle with him.
I'm riding the fence. I'm sitting right on it.
Well, then don't take him at 15.
I don't like anybody else unless I'm grossly overdrafted. I like him at this spot. Scott, you're up, 4th pick, second round.
Yeah, I was just looking. I've been in this spot a couple times, and it's between 2 players. And typically, I'm sold between 2 receivers here. I'd probably shop this pick just to see if there's any veteran receivers that somebody wants to get rid of. Maybe someone will throw me a Jarvis Landry or someone like that and swap it out for this pick. I think if I had to decide on these 2 players, I will take Denzel Mims. Simply early opportunity for him. I'm a little concerned about his landing spot, but also a little concerned about his profile too. He's one of the older receivers in the class. So if he doesn't fire right away, I think he could be a big value faller, kind of like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside last year, if he doesn't fire right away. But if he does, I think he has the best chance given his opportunity to fire right away and maybe turn a profit if you don't believe in him long term. So Mims at 16.
Any concerns he misses a meeting and Gase sends him to the fantasy graveyard?
That's part of it. I mean, it looks like opportunity, but we'll see. It's maybe you don't even want opportunity in this offense because it doesn't turn out well for guys until they get out of it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Send him to the fantasy graveyard. I think he's already there with Gase. So
yeah.
Hey, they have to throw the ball to somebody there. They don't have a lot of choices right now. That was, I think, the best pick you can make here over the guy that I think I'm going to be relegated to pick. That I don't.
Their 1-2 now is that
Rashad Perriman and Crowder going on with Mims.
Yeah, Crowder, then Perriman, and then Mims, or Crowder, Mims, and Perriman. We'll see.
And the ghost of Josh Doxson, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God,
Vincent Smith. Keep adding him to deep rosters.
Yeah,
just telling
is
you.
Anunua still alive?
He's better than Josh Doxson, I'll tell you that.
exactly.
Anunua is already
better than
in place. Yeah, PUP and IR for this year.
I think first player to go on IR, and it was like April.
Yeah.
Yes.
Football.
So with the 5th pick in this round, we're going with Madman.
I'm going to go with Ayuk in San Francisco reluctantly. Everybody loves that player, really loves that player. a lot of people. So hopefully I can turn that into something else down the line. I don't love him. I think he's fine, but there are, it's not the most tremendous passing offense in the world. They run through the running backs, the tight ends, and, Deebo Samuel is pretty much what they have there, wide receiver, and I don't know that they need Ayuk. So I'm not looking favorably on his rookie year, especially. So he's a guy I'm not planning to keep, but I think that's the play here because other people seem to love him. That's what I'm doing.
Outstanding. Walk, you are up again.
Yeah, I mean, he got the capital, so really no arguing Ayuk. I was not taking him here, so it didn't really change what I was doing much. I'm stuck between two guys, so I'm going to swing for upside in the mid-second, and I'm taking Antonio Gibson.
I like it.
Very highly of him there. I was big on him before. I don't think the landing spot dings him at all. Hopefully they get creative enough with him.
I agree entirely. I'm a big fan also. Dave, you are up.
So I think there's a real tier break after Shenault goes off the board for me. So I'm really trying to trade any extra picks to try to get up into that area, try to sneak in there and get Edwards, or even try to get at the end of Shenault there, or just totally trade out. But if I have to at this point, I'm going to go running back. I'll take A.J. Dillon, the adjusted speed score. I'll just trust LaFleur's inadequacy and incompetence to actually make him a fantasy player. So
yeah, I love that pick. I love Dillon, actually.
Oh, now it is up to me with the 20th pick in the draft. And looking at the positional players left available, I am going to pivot and take the first quarterback here. And I have Tua above Joe Burrow. So give me Tua Tagovailoa. Scott, it's back to you.
Yeah, it's back to me, and I kind of agree with Dave a little bit. There's a couple tier breaks in here where I would have already been aggressively trying to move up and get another one of the players off in the first 17 or 18 or try to move back. But I think at this point, unless you really need a quarterback, and this might be one of those leagues where everyone's played in those single quarterback leagues where you swear everybody's holding like 5 of them and they'll only trade them for, a mid-second round pick or better, even though they're not worth that anywhere close to that on the real market. But I think you just skip over the quarterbacks despite Burrow sitting right there. Mm-hmm. So I'll go back to the running back, and it's tough here, but I think I'll lean with Darrington Evans here over a couple of the other running backs just based on, where his draft capital was. He had the day 2 draft capital, even though it was, I think, only 4 picks till the end of the 3rd round he was taken. Hopefully immediate opportunity, and you never know. I think with the Derrick Henry injury, I know he's like Superman, not going to get injured, but if he did, that offense is still going to run the same way. So I would like his opportunity, kind of like a Tevin Coleman a couple times where he came in and had that extra value because of the potential handcuff, and he should have a standalone role right away. So Darrington Evans, next running back off the board.
I like that pick. Madman, you are up.
I'm going to pivot off of all that funny stuff. I feel like every time I'm up, I either am too soon to draft a guy I want or too late. But I'm going to go with Anthony McFarland for the Steelers because I actually like him better than most people do. And I think he's going to have an immediate impact and be valuable. I don't care who's ahead of him on the depth chart either. I think he's going to be immediately valuable, a running back, a PPR back in some leagues, and so I'm not worried about him long term. I think his last season of college, he was banged up, and I think he offers exactly what they finally need after losing Le'Veon Bell and trying to fill in with all these other guys. So I like him better than Zach Moss and some of the other guys that are certain to come off the board in the next few picks.
I forgot Zach Moss even existed. Walk, you are up 2-11.
It's not very kind of you since I'll be taking Zach Moss. I have him personally above Evans and McFarland. Moss is walking into probably 180 touches in his rookie season as a baseline. That's just what Frank Gore did uselessly in this offense, and Moss offers Gore plus upside in his rookie year with goal line work. So I'm gladly taking
points-wise, I definitely like him over Evans. Long term, I don't like him as much, but as the guy I took, but you got a great point there. He might be one of the best running backs to come out of that second round.
I almost took Moss over Gibson at 18, personally. Because immediate
a lot of people do.
I just like Gibson's receiving upside, and this is a PPR. So
is there a better feeling in fantasy than sitting in a draft and wanting to take somebody a pick earlier? You decide not to, and he still falls to your next pick.
All right, 24 space, man, end of the second.
So right here, I'm stuck between 2 players. I'll just take the guy I think is going to get the most immediate opportunity. I'll take Joshua Kelly. I think he lands into a pretty appetizing spot there in LA. That offense and that offensive line should be greatly improved. And at this point, when I take running backs, if they're going to hit for me early, and if not, I can just bail on them. So whereas if I took a wide receiver here, I might have to wait a couple of years to see how he does. So I'll just take the running back and at least a sniff of opportunity, and I'll go with Josh Kelly.
Yeah, Dave, I agree. And Scott was shaking his head at the same time. And I found myself, and I don't know why, these last couple of years, not prioritizing running back in these kind of mid rounds and reaching on some wide receivers that I inevitably end up cutting. So why not go with the guy that could turn the quickest profit and get running back? So it's something I'm trying to be more cognizant of, especially in this draft. And guys like Josh Kelly are exactly who I'm targeting late second, early third.
All right, so that wraps up the second. Just to recap, it went Pittman first, Edwards, Chenault, Mims, Ayuk, Gibson, A.J. Dillon, our first quarterback, Tua at 2-8, Darrington Evans, McFarland, Moss, and Kelly to close it out. Anybody in particular you guys want to touch on as overdrafted, underdrafted? Any outliers here?
I think just to add one point about the running backs, it's the sunk cost fallacy. You get a determination on a running back a lot quicker. You'll know if they don't make the team, if they get cut out of training camp or if they're relegated, they get beat out by an undrafted free agent or something, you don't waste the equity of holding that roster spot. If you draft a fifth round receiver that you love, but then they're buried year one and you still like them year two, but they haven't had any clarity, you end up wasting basically 2 or 3 years on your roster, whereas you can turn and burn that spot if it's a running back that doesn't hit. So I like that logic with what Dave articulated. So I think that's a good strategy if you're deciding between running back and receiver to take the back.
Very good point.
Yeah, just to expand upon it, 6 of the last 7 picks of the round were running backs, 18 through 24. Tua and 6 running backs.
Totally unrelated to fantasy, but going back to the Ayuk pick at 2.5, he's a kind of a bully, tough guy, and he's going to be across from Debo. For DFS, I'm going to be playing whatever wide receivers the Niners just played because they're going to beat the shit. Did I express that correctly? Those opposing corners are going to be really sore and beat up the week after they play the Niners. They're really going to have a tough time, I think, the following week. So give me the quarterback and wide receivers playing whoever the Niners just played every week next year.
Yeah, John, if you didn't articulate it correctly, I'll just pull the audio from last week where you said the exact same thing about Ayuk, and I'll just drop it right in here. You are very adamant about this point.
I understand why Ayuk goes a little later, and I'm not high on it either, but where he's going and like where he went in this, there's significant upside there, and you got to be happy with that. I mean, I'm not that much of a fan of him, but he has decent athleticism, and you can explain why he didn't break out until later. You would have liked him to see compete a little bit more with Harry in his initial year at ASU, but with that kind of production and how much they love him in San Francisco, that's not a bad pick in the mid-second round at wide receiver.
Yeah, and speaking to coach speak, did Lynch and all come out and say they had Ayuk neck and neck with Lamb as the top wide receiver?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if that's true or not, but it's certainly makes Ayuk feel pretty special.
Pettis all over again.
Oh,
that fucking guy.
So we smoked through the second round there. Do you guys want to jump into a third quick and bang out another 12 picks?
Scott always does. Scott will stay for a fourth.
Yeah, I'll stay for more.
All right.
This is where I think it's going to get
interesting. I'm at, I got the first pick here. I'm 301. By a long shot, the number one guy remaining on my board. Walk knows who's coming here. My man, Van Jefferson. Got the draft capital. It's going super late in a lot of drafts. This is probably higher than he's going to go in a lot of your drafts in real life. But give me my man, Van Jefferson. Scott, you are next.
Yeah, so this is tough. I'm kind of debating between I'm breaking my logic of taking the running back, like I just said like 2 minutes ago, to always take the running backs over the receivers. But there's two second round receivers here that just fall and fall and fall.
I know.
You probably know the one. There's probably one that'll go higher in most drafts, but I'll take the one that I like a little bit better. That just nobody sees as having any early opportunity, so he's just going to get buried. But
in Denver,
I learned from Mecole Hardman last year. This guy's a superior prospect in every single facet of the game to Mecole Hardman, except for he's not on the Chiefs. So if you have any belief at all in Drew Lock and the Broncos offense, you will draft KJ Hamler if he falls this far. That's all I'll say. Look up his profile.
If he drops this far, yeah, he's a gimme.
But if you take the landing spot out of it, he would be a top 10 prospect in most classes at wide receiver. So that's all I'll say.
Is this also one where if he participated at the combine, dynasty community would be a lot higher? He got the capital. He has the production profile. Just he didn't get to run like Ruggs did where he blew the combine up. I think Hamler would have challenged Ruggs at the 40.
I slotted Ruggs, or I slotted Hamler in at like a 4.35 40. I think that would have been a little conservative, but I think it's interesting. He goes back to back this late with Van Jefferson. The NFL overlooked the fact that neither of them were at the combine and still drafted them in the second round. Now they're totally different prospects. They play a totally different type of game. And Hamler's 4 years younger than Van Jefferson, so that's a big factor for me. He's the youngest receiver in the class. So this is just an investment pick. This is a guy I will hold on my roster for 3 years to see what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And the thing with Hamler too is the sports science at Penn State. They released a video, and the Next Gen Stats looked at it, and they clocked him at the same speed as Tyreek Hill. So he, people are concerned about the 40 time, but it's there on the video. He is that fast. So
he is. His hands aren't as good as Tyreek Hill yet, but they should be. I'm sure he'll get better at catching the football. Plus, he had a shitty quarterback, like one of the worst quarterbacks I can imagine watching in the Big Ten. Just horrible. And there have been some bad ones.
Listen, Jalen Rager's like, hold on.
Yeah, his quarterback was.
No, I love my pick, Scott. We talked on Off the Rails about Hamler, and I'm right there. I got him in like the 4th round of an early draft, post NFL draft. We're just sitting there like that. I'm like, holy shit, Hamler's still sitting there? Gladly. And I said the same. I forget who I was talking to. It was like, he's the guy, even if the opportunity's not there, I'm going to find a way to keep him on my taxi to see what comes of it. He is worth it. I love the pick.
You guys all just convinced me to bump him up in my rankings.
Sure.
Yeah, all right.
You should.
I must have him too low. Madman, you're up. Pick 303.
A guy who can catch the football in the slot for the Ravens. Kind of a weird landing spot because the Ravens, throwing the football, the Lamar Jackson and all that. But in the center of the field where they need it, I mean, they have Willie Snead, a bunch of bodies outside of Boykin and the unreliable Marquise Brown. They need a steady Eddie, a receiver that doesn't drop the football, that plays in that sweet spot in the center of the field and out of the slot for the Ravens. So I like him here. I think it's a really good value this late for sure. He's definitely a great wide receiver. I think in any other class, he's definitely going to be drafted at the top of the 2nd round. But I think he's going to be valuable starting the first season his rookie year.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Like, tremendous opportunity in Baltimore. I mean, like you said, Willie Snead's not keeping anyone off the field, and Miles Boykin wasn't able to find his way onto it his rookie year. So him play totally different games. And they cleared the deck a little bit, getting rid of Hayden Hurst. So some of that midfield targets where Duvernay will probably eat are open. So I'm there with you. I'm going to pivot because there was no one that jumped out at me at the running back or wide receiver position here. So I'm actually going to go Joe Burrow.
Got to do it
at 28. It's even in a one quarterback.
Too late.
Value early 3rd, wherever we're at. Joe.
Yeah, I don't see him ever fall.
How about that?
3, 4.
He doesn't fall that far in one quarterback leagues either. No. Not in the ones I've been in. All 3 of them.
On to pick 3, 5. Spaceman, you are up.
Spaceman.
Yes. So I actually have a tough decision here again. I can't get over how great of a Hamler pick was. I was hoping he'd make it here. So I'll just keep heaping the praise on. But I guess I'm going to go wide receiver here, and I feel like he has a decent amount of initial opportunity, and I really liked him overall from an age-adjusted production standpoint. Antonio Gandy-Golden, Manny Washington, not a lot of target competition, great frame, good. And I'm just excited about the initial opportunity at this point in the draft for a wide receiver.
I like it. No, I was a bigger fan of his before the draft.
Solid pick.
Yeah. Walker hates him. All right, I am picking here halfway through the 3rd. Boy, things are looking ugly now. Chase Claypool's probably ADP-wise the next guy, but I'm not a fan. My highest guy is going to be there later in the round, so I'm going to reluctantly take the first tight end as well. I'm going to take Adam Troutman. I had him as tight end 1 in this class. Landing in the Saints system is probably one of the best spots for a tight end to land. So as a rookie, what are you expecting? Not much, of course, but they traded 4 picks to move up to get him. So they probably have some plans in place to use him at least a little bit. Obviously, best ball, I'd like him a little more, but he's going to hopefully flash a little bit this rookie year, and then we'll see him down the line becoming a little more productive in that system.
He's the guy I like the best in this class overall, as a top tight end.
Scott, you are up, sir.
307. I can't believe you guys let me get him. I've got him in 8 drafts thus far. I will take my boy, Lynn Bowden Jr., take the shot at running back. Really, he's almost like a butter knife for this class. I mean, he's not going to be the greatest of anything, but I think he can do a lot of different functions. And the fact that he has the running back tag, he probably should be gone by now. John mentioned Chase Claypool. I've skipped over him in so many drafts in favor of all these guys that have gone in like the last 6 or 7 picks. And I can't pass up the shot of taking my boy here and taking him because he's a running back. I think he should be going off at the early 3rd in this type of draft. The fact that he's got that tag now. So Lynn Bowden Jr., 307.
Yeah, the Raiders are doing everything never to make Josh Jacobs a receiving threat in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're literally doing everything humanly possible to never throw him the ball in the NFL. And I agree with you. Bowden's a great pick. And two people mentioned Claypool now. If they would just designate him a tight end already, I think his appeal would go through the roof. It's the stubbornness that they're saying he's going to play outside. His value shit. I don't want him anywhere. I don't care if Pittsburgh drafts wide receiver well. He's just never going to last on the outside.
After that trashing, we're up to Madman.
My team that I'm drafting for needs a quarterback, Justin Herbert.
All right. Got our third and likely final quarterback off the board. Walk, we're going back to you here.
Oh, my last pick of this mock. Who can I pick so I can say something nice about them since I don't get to pick something else? We were talking running backs. I'm going to go back to the well at running back, and I'm going to take DJ Dallas.
Nice.
I think it's a little early for him personally, but Scott's point, when in doubt, go running back, and why not go with a Seattle running back where opportunity could literally fall into his lap. Penny's going to start on IR. Carson's rehabbing and bound to get injured again. He has to beat Travis Homer for meaningful snaps his rookie year. I'll take the shot with DJ Dallas.
I like it a lot.
Valid points them all. Dave, you're up.
So is Chase Claypool still available?
Sure is.
And I'm just not going to take him on general principle here. I'll just take LaMichael Pirine here. I'm not with this during this quarantine and stuff. I'm not 100% confident. The running back in New York isn't out, creating rap albums and stuff like that. So who knows? LaMichael Pirine could get some early opportunity in here, and if he doesn't do anything, I can just kick him out the door. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just can't draft anyone with the last name Pirine. And then Frank Gore's there just to keep us all honest, but that's a great pick.
That's true, actually. Yeah, Frank Gore.
So with the second to last pick of the third round, I'm going to overdraft somebody because I just like him. Give me James Prochet. Is there a role in that system from day one? Not really in Baltimore, but I wouldn't be shocked a year from now to see Hollywood on one side, Prochet on the other, and our guy Duvernay in the slot. So I think Prochet had the best hands in this entire class. Landing in a good offense that's going to put up points. Do I expect much year one? No, but down the line, I think he could be a real important possession type receiver in that class, especially in a PPR league. I'll take him here for sure. And Scott, you are up with 312, the final pick of this podcast draft.
Well, it wouldn't be interesting if I took Chase Claypool, so we're going to let him get completely shit on and not get drafted, so he's out. If it was going to be a receiver, I would take Tyler Johnson, but I'm going to pass on him, even though there's probably somebody in my league that really likes him, so he wouldn't have likely got to this point because I would have drafted him. So last pick, sticking with my strategy, taking a running back. There's one running back in this class that has a 300-plus carry season and a 40-plus catch season on his resume. If anybody can guess who that might be. Unfortunately, he got drafted in the 7th round. That's the only thing that's digging his value. I'll take Benjamin, manageable depth chart. Yeah, he's got to battle Chase Edmonds, but I think this is one of those offenses like the Chiefs. I want the third running back because I know he's going to be active on game days, one injury away from potentially having use. So Eno Benjamin is my last pick.
That 7th round pick was not a death sentence for him. I argued with my co-host Shane about that, where he said, you know what, draft capital, he's dead to me. I'm like, dude, you love the guy going in. Think about the landing spot. Think about the opportunity. He wanted to hear nothing of it. I'm like, when Eno Benjamin pans out, you're going to be kicking your own ass because that's not a bad spot for him to be.
No argument. Stays in state too, just like Joshua Kelly doesn't even leave the state. So you got some heavy local scouting going on by these organizations that they're really hanging by their guys. But no, Benjamin, tremendous value at 36. I can't argue that one bit.
So to recap round 3 here, we went Van Jefferson, KJ Hamler, Duvernay, Burrow, Antonio Gandy, Golden, Troutman, Bowden, Herbert, Dallas, Pirine, Prochet, and Mr. Eno Benjamin to close it out. And I believe I've called Chase Claypool Clay Chasepool on more than one occasion, and he didn't get drafted, so he deserves to have his name butchered like that. Anybody that you guys thought was a little odd not to go in these first 3 besides Clay Chasepool, or was there anybody else you guys have seen go this early but fell out of our draft?
I mean, Scott mentioned Tyler Johnson. I think his name just bubbles up because we've known about him forever. And to Scott's point, there's someone that's just been high on Tyler Johnson for 2 years now. But
he's gone the 4th round in a lot of these drafts. He really has. I mean,
he's a fringy late third guy, but
not so much for me.
James Prochet, Sorry, John, but I'm taking Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I'm taking Tyler Johnson over James Prochet, but that's not a bad pick. That was probably the only one I was surprised about was Prochet.
Yeah, and to speak to the round, I mean, I know these aren't our teams, but truthfully, every pick that Scott made were guys that I like a lot and just fell to value. I mean, we're talking Hamler, Bowden, and Benjamin in the third round. I wouldn't be disappointed with any of those guys, especially, even at their draft slots where Scott got them.
No, I was just going to say something to mention. I mean, we kind of talked about it before we started, but I mean, you had guys, Gabriel Davis was a 4th round pick, didn't get drafted. Quintez Cephas was a 5th round pick, didn't get drafted. Tyler Johnson, 5th round pick, didn't get drafted. Isaiah Coulter, 5th round pick, didn't get drafted. I mean, we have a lot of guys that were still, mid day 3 picks that went undrafted. So, I mean, this class compared to past years where you were dipping into the UDFA in the 4th, this is a deep class, especially at the receiver position.
And the quarterback getting pushed down was pretty huge. That's another big anomaly with this, I think. Even in one quarterback, they did fall quite a bit. I mean, Herbert, where I got Herbert for that team that's tremendous. And Ayuk, he's not going that low in one quarterback leagues. Even pick 17, I don't see that. So, it's not like it's all over the place, but I think it just keeps demonstrating how much value there is in this draft. We all found guys we liked in all 3 rounds.
But that should do it, guys. Thank you all for coming on. We'll go around a circle again, let everybody plug their stuff. Dave, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
So you can find me at FF_Spaceman on Twitter, and also I'm the co-host of at the Tale 2 Rivals on Twitter, the Tale 2 Rivals podcast, where me and my buddy FF_Bannerman, we banter. We have 2 different points of view, and also we're joined by another guy, Sean, and it's a good time. We're starting to hit our stride here. The quality of the episodes are getting up there, so yeah, check us out.
Thank you, sir, for coming on. Madman, you are next.
You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Madman.
And closing out the draft and the podcast, Scott, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. At Charles Chill, FFB on Twitter, DLF, and Dynasty and Chill podcast. Good times.
Outstanding. Thank you all again for coming on. This was fun, especially getting into those deeper rounds where a lot of weird stuff starts shaking out, very contrary to ADP. For myself, John DeBari, my co-host, Matt Walker, we are the Fantasy 40. Thank you for checking us out. Tell a friend, like, rate, subscribe, all that other good stuff. And we are out of here.
Yeah, I was on the clock in 5 leagues at once. I had 9 drafts going at once. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to actually work at the same time. Like, people want to do trades throughout all day. And I'm just like, damn.
Trying to work.